Yes, or is it
Setting up your webinar for YouTube Live. Here we go. Welcome to another busy webinar, everyone. So happy to have you with us. We have a very special event today because we have one of our best and favorite partners with us, Tim Ritchie with Integrate IQ. Hey, Tim.
Yay,
Hey, good
Tim!
morning. Oh my God, what a nice welcome. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be
Hey!
here.
Yes, yes. So we've been working with Tim and his company for several years, and we've done several integrations and connections. And Tim happens to have one of our absolute favorite connections with HubSpot, Message IQ, which is a messaging enabled tool that was around before HubSpot SMS was available and is way, way, way more powerful and better than the stuff that you get for free or for pay with HubSpot. So we're super excited to have you with us. Tim, thanks for advancing that slide. Just if you're new here and you haven't connected with us before, BizzyWeb is a growth marketing agency based in Minneapolis, and we regularly help our clients with all things HubSpot and messaging. And so one of the things that we're constantly getting questions on is SMS, aka text messaging, and how I can apply that to my business. So we're going to talk through a lot of that today. Treva, is there anything else you want to give us as intro today?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I got a 50% off coupon that just came through on my phone, so I was
Ooh,
distracted by that.
that's amazing.
Perfect.
What
Perfect.
were we
Perfect.
talking about?
I think we're talking about SMS and dual screening our entire lives.
I really struggle with this because I felt like I was really techie, and I felt like I was really good at this. And then we got SMS integrated into our sales cadence as well as our marketing cadence. And I would say that probably 35% of my sales interactions now are all done through text. So this
Yeah,
is really exciting to talk about why this is important, not just from a selling perspective, but also from a marketing perspective, and how you can really use this tool effectively. And I wanted to sort of back down a little, just in case any HubSpot people are listening. HubSpot has a great tool
yep,
that you can do text messaging through. We think that one of the tools that we use here, which is called Message IQ, has a lot more robust features. It just happens to be owned by Tim, but you can certainly do it both ways. But we definitely think that if you're really going to get into this, having a conversation with Tim's team at Integrate is a really good idea.
absolutely. So thanks for joining, and let's
Welcome,
get down to
Tim.
business.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thanks for the kind intro and for the Message IQ plug, Trigby. I appreciate that. Super happy to be here today. And, I'm not going to spend this time plugging Message IQ. We have been in the market for a long time. I think this is maybe our fourth year in the HubSpot marketplace, and it is our most popular SmartRamp product. As you'll learn later, my background is in text messaging for some large companies. So the opportunity to be here to talk about this, to represent this product, I'm super stoked about and excited for this conversation. So thank you for the platform. I appreciate it, and look forward to sharing a little bit of knowledge and how people can take advantage of SMS.
Wait a minute. Let's roll this back a second,
Yeah.
because you kind of buried the lead there. And did I see that right? That if you text bad dad jokes to
Oh.
number on screen?
Yeah, yeah. The intent was to have this sitting here as people were joining. So thanks for that, Trigby. We've set up a little fun little game. I am known for terrible dad jokes. My 18-year-old son tells me that all the time. But we've set up a little workflow just to sort of display the power of HubSpot and workflows and Message IQ. If you text bad dad jokes to the phone number there, 425 537-6965. There's a little demo and we'll play a little game with you. So please do that. Enjoy, and would love your feedback on your experience. The intent here is just to show what automation might look like through a fun little game.
Very cool. Now, before we move on, you're gonna have to give us a taste, because Dave and I are connoisseurs of bad dad jokes.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say. Text the number. They are.
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at him.
They're truly awful.
Okay.
And those are the best, right? I'll do one thing here that will mortify my son if he ever sees this recording. What's brown and sticky?
Well, I know this one, but I'm not going to give it away.
I know too. I know.
Yeah.
Somebody
The answer is
put it in
stick.
chat. Oh yeah, we got it.
Yeah, it's a stick.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not in the bad dad jokes, but it absolutely deserves to be.
Tim, do you know what the difference between a hippo and a zippo is?
I do not.
One is a big fat animal, the other is a little lighter.
I have competition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's so good.
Well, I put the number in chat if folks didn't get it. So be sure to watch your chat. And if you have questions during today's event for Tim, please use the chat feature so that we can connect up. And if we have time at the end, we will open up mics for panelists if you want to talk.
Beautiful. So let's get down to it, shall we?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to cover off a number of things. The first is just want to provide a little bit of context of who I am and why I'm standing up here in front of you. And then we should get grounded with some common definitions, just so we understand what's happening. We had a guest chat with us prior to starting to say she's brand new. Perfect. That's exactly where we want to be. We'll get you up to speed so you'll understand what's happening here. And please jump into the chat if I go too fast or we're, for some reason talking over your head. We want to make this as conversational as possible. So feel free to jump in. So there'll be a little bit of definitions. Then I'll roll into why text messaging is important. Like, why should you care? There's lots of ways to talk to customers and leads. So why does text messaging matter? What sets it apart? We're then going to get into kind of the meat of the topic here, which is what are practical applications of text messaging? And I figure that's probably why most of you are here, is to really get some ideas, maybe some templates, get some good suggestions about how you leave this webinar and then go make something happen to drive your business forward. So we'll get into that. There are some best practices that we should talk about. We need to talk about compliance and messaging and that kind of thing. And then we'll have some next steps at the end. So the hope is by the end of this discussion, you'll have really practical stepwise approach to how do you get into text messaging for your business, or if you're already doing it, how do you leverage it more deeply? Okay, well, let's jump into me really quickly, and I'll just share a little bit of my background. So the thing to know about me is I've spent most of my career leading the commercial sides of businesses. In fact, I've led sales and marketing teams for the last 25 years, but I've also done some crazy, borderline stupid things on the side and adjacent to my career. For example, in the early 2000s, I co-founded a general contracting business called Great Bones Construction. And what we focused on was flipping houses, remodeling, building new houses in North Seattle and near the University of Washington. I live in the Seattle area, and that made that terribly convenient. It was super fun. I really like to build things in the creative process. And in this, I wanted to leave a legacy. And I know that the houses that we built or gutted and remodeled will still be there 100 years from now. So it was really fulfilling for me. And it was phenomenal and fun right up until 2008. when the real estate and financial world fell apart. And then it was a lot less fun. Fortunately, at that point, we had sold all the houses that we had built, and we were left with 3 empty lots that we ended up sitting on for a few years, and sold those off and broke even. And kind of no harm, no foul for us, but gosh, so many of the people in our network through that time declared bankruptcy, went out of business. It was a really rough time, but when it was good, it was great. It was really fun, and we enjoyed that creative process. That's not nearly the craziest thing I've done, though. Probably the most interesting and crazy thing I've done is I cowboyed for a buddy that had a ranch in Montana, or has a ranch in Montana. He raised cattle. And I'd like for you to just think about getting to live that Yellowstone life in real life. But it was more like the ranch hand side of it than the ranch owner side of it. I loved it. We were up in the mountains. I was on my horse all the time. We did cattle gathers, roundups, and brandings, and really brought this community together in a way that was super fulfilling. It was pretty awesome. And I'll tell you what, boy, do I have some good stories. The TV series Yellowstone, not that far off. And in fact,
were people shooting at you like they do on Yellowstone?
There were very regularly large handguns that were taken back in the back in the mountains. So I didn't
Really?
get
Well,
Somebody
I
took
was
in
them to the
trying to
train
be funny, but
station.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, Tim took somebody to the train station. I know it for sure.
Oh man.
absolutely not. I'll never admit to that ever. Um,
Next train station to 425-53,
yeah.
and Tim will come pick you up.
You're going to get a picture responded back of Rip. My wife is desperately in love with Rip, so that would have been a great idea.
I think everybody's wife is desperately in love with Rip, man. That's not
I
you.
wish I would have thought of that. Right. So I've had sort of this amazing, fortunate career, and I'm grateful for every role I've been in. And they all led me here to you and to text messaging. So today I'm CEO of Integrate IQ. We're a specialized system integration company, and we're the makers of Message IQ, which is, I'm going to argue, it's the most deeply integrated text messaging platform for HubSpot, including HubSpot. So I'm particularly interested in text messaging. I have a long background in mobile. I helped Microsoft bring their mobile phone to market. I helped Vodafone launch new phones and new solutions. And for a while, I was the VP of sales for the world's largest mobile payments and messaging service, a company called OpenMarket. So I love and believe deeply in text messaging and mobile environments, and there's a good reason why. So if you don't use it today, why on earth would you even consider adding a new messaging channel to reach your prospects and customers? There are so many channels to reach your audience today, and the messaging environment is incredibly fragmented. Well, according to a study recently published by CNN, the adult attention span has reduced over the years to only 47 seconds in 2024. So, and I can say this as a long time sales leader, the attention span for sales messages is much shorter than that. It's more like 3, 4, 8 seconds maybe. You have very little time to get your message across, and text messaging is short form messages. It is a trusted communication channel. I'm willing to bet everybody that watches this and everybody that's online right now, your phone is within arm's reach. I know if you're anything like me, it's with you 24 hours a day. I sleep next to the stupid thing. So in fact, people are checking their phones 96 times a day. pick it up to see an announcement, the latest X
Yeah.
post, messages that come in. You're always on your phone. But because it's ubiquitously with you, it means that when a company sends a text message, it's very, very likely to be received and read within seconds. In fact, there's a 98% open rate for text messages that are sent compared to only a 22.5% open rate for email. And
Wow.
now that tools are built that allow you to treat text messaging like emailing, you can set up automation through HubSpot workflows, insert personalization tokens. Imagine the power that you now have to reach your audience and get them to take action. But we all have years of experience with direct mail, email, and text messaging it's not new anymore, but it's a relatively newer technology. So let's get grounded in some definitions as well. You may think that text messaging is just text messaging, right? Well, not exactly. And I'll have one caveat here. I'm going to use the terms text messaging and SMS interchangeably. It's because I'm old and I've been doing that a long time. So I just can't get away from using the term SMS. The types of text messages that you're most used to receiving from friends and family are referred to as 10DLC. That's 10-digit long code. It's a phone number, right? It comes across on your phone. You recognize a phone number. That's a 10DLC number. But there's other options as well. So there are toll-free numbers that you can get. And toll-free numbers are just that, right? They look like an 866 or 855 or 800 number that appear on your phone as those things. But here's the deal with those. They look commercial. So the open rates and response rates for toll-free numbers are typically much lower than they are for 10DLC short codes. And for this reason, we don't recommend them in most use cases. There are some where it might make sense, but I'd say they're few and far between.
Tim, is that just a hangover from the old school, like 1-800, this means business kind of world?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's people that use an 800 number for their primary voice number, and they want to add an additional capability to that toll-free number.
Okay.
So they'll add text messaging on top of it.
Got it.
Good question. Thank you. Another hangover from the early days of text messaging is short codes. And I know we've all gotten short codes. They're those 5-digit numbers that can either be dedicated to a company or shared. Shared short codes can be pretty cost effective. But short code messaging is generally reserved for very high volume or payment related text messaging. It's a highly regulated part of the industry, and it's monitored really closely by the carriers. Back in the day, it was the only thing to do, and the scammers and the spammers found out about it, and they jumped on board with both feet. They started sending out millions and millions of short code based text messages, and they do these scammy, horrible little programs where they would charge people for, say, getting a daily reminder or your daily horoscope. And people would think that they would subscribe to a service for a one-time fee, but in fact, they were either being charged a monthly subscription, or the really bad ones were charging them for a weekly subscription. All those things came directly off of your phone bill, and no one reads their phone bill. So it would go months, sometimes years, before someone would find out about that. So the carriers began to crack down and got a little draconian with short codes. At Message IQ, virtually all of our campaigns, including some very, very large campaigns for Fortune 500, top 5 Fortune 500 type companies, run through 10 DLC numbers. It's what people expect now. It's very much the norm. So that's the definition of text messaging or SMS. Let's shift to what message means, because it's a little bit of a misnomer in the industry now. generally the industry refers to messaging, but really what they should do is refer to message segments. So a message segment is 160 characters message segment. It's kind of like Twitter. It's like old school text messaging used to be. You have 160 characters to get your point across. Well, with smartphones today, with all the fancy Google phones and Samsung and iPhone, those 160 character segments now get concatenated into a single message. So you can send a long text message. It can be received as a long text message, and it all looks like one thing. But on the back end, it's a series of segments that get put together to show up on somebody's phone. So the reason I bring this up is when you're talking to text messaging companies, and I hope that at the end of this presentation, you're inspired to go try this out. And you're going to go talk to different text messaging companies. And when you do, they're going to probably refer to volume-based messaging rates. Just be aware that it doesn't really mean messages. What they're probably referring to is text segments. So ask them about it. Ask them what their policy is and how they do that. I don't want you getting caught by fine print. The final thing that I wanted to talk about here in the definition section is consent or opt-in. You'll hear this a lot referred to in the industry, and it's a broad topic. This topic can be a webinar all on its own, but in the context of this webinar, I'd like to refer to consent as the requirements necessary to confirm and validate that someone that's getting a message from you has agreed to receive that and is expecting it. The purpose of the opt-in requirements is just to make sure everybody's on the same page. And there's a number of ways to gain consent or opt-in. The most common is to include an optional checkbox and some regulatory language on all of the forms on your website where you're asking for a phone number, or on your meeting links, or in your emails, or in your digital advertising, if there's a call to action that takes somebody to a form. So you want to make sure that all of those have that regulatory language and an opt-in. It's easy. It's a couple sentences. And while I realize that this is a topic we could go deep on, and this is very high level, I'll offer two things here. The first is, if you're interested in this topic, go to our website, messageIQ.io, go to the blog section and search for the term compliance. There's some blog posts in there that go deeper on this than I can now. Or reach out to me or reach out to BizzyWeb, and we can help you through this. We each have lots of experience with it. The reason that all this compliance stuff exists is text messaging is it's a very privileged position in a recipient's life, and the carriers are working hard to avoid some of the problems that we've seen with email, right? We don't want a gazillion spammers, and my inbox is just cluttered with junk, and the carriers are trying to avoid that. So let's move on and begin to see how others are using text messages to get some success. Now, text messaging isn't vertically market specific. I've seen companies that range from Apple and Accenture, huge companies, from mobile app developers, video game providers, professional services companies, manufacturers, financial and real estate companies, construction, lawn care, retail, e-commerce, financial services, healthcare companies find incredible success with text messaging. Even churches and schools are now texting their congregants, parents, and students. In short, it doesn't really matter what industry or service or product that you provide. There's likely a way that text messaging fits into your business and can help you grow or streamline. Now, I figure that most of the people here are going to be sales and marketing professionals. So that's really how I'm going to gear the next section of this conversation. But I want to leave you with a message that everybody can use text messaging, absolutely everyone. And Now let's talk about how it can be used. It can be used in sales and marketing functions. That's what I'll focus on here, but operations, financial services, transactional scenarios, and a gazillion others that I won't discuss here. And if you do happen to be more operationally or financially focused, I'm happy to connect one-on-one. BizzyWeb's happy to connect one-on-one. And we can actually run a strategy session to help you align how text messaging can help your individual business. So let's dive in. All right. So when I think of top of the funnel, I think of that as increasing a company's profile. And there's a number of ways that you can leverage text messaging to do that. One tried and true method is to have print or digital advertising. That's social or search advertising or traditional print, right? It's publications or billboards, or postcards, or direct mail, something that has a call to action. And in each of these instances, an option to text in for more information, to take advantage of a free evaluation for a limited time offer. They're all great ways to get attention. In fact, MessageIQ recently ran a Google search and Facebook advertising campaign, and the call to action was to complete a form in return for a limited time discounted offer. We had workflows set up in HubSpot that triggered a multi-message text message sequence. When anyone filled out that form, the opt-in was included right on that form. In that particular sequence, if someone didn't respond to 5 text messages sent over 4 days, then an email sequence kicked off to see if we could get a response that way. And we'll talk more about this later at a high level. But one thing to keep in mind is that running campaigns like this, just make sure that you're compliant with industry regulations, including ensuring that your messages have stop and help notifications. The combination of HubSpot.
Tim, I had a question. What's a good way to make sure that I'm up to date on all my industry's regulations? Is there a place I can check? Is that something that how do I do that?
Yeah, there's two ways that I can offer to do that pretty easily that are related here today. Go to messageiq.io/blog, do that search for compliance, and there's 2 articles there on compliance. The longer form article includes a bunch of links down at the bottom to industry regulations, in addition to summarizing those industry regulations right in the blog post. So you can hopefully get at it really easily that way. There's an industry organization called CTIA, and they do a great job of summarizing all the industry regulations and keeping people up to date on them. The challenge that we have is there's a number of tier 1 carriers and a bunch of other virtual mobile network operators that run on the backbone of those carriers as well. And they each have policies that primarily come from CTIA. So that's a great way to stay up to speed.
I linked in the chat with that, Tim. So we've got that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I put the blog post from MessageIQ.
Oh, we're such helpful little handies. Yeah.
My gosh, you guys are good. Thank you. Right. So let's see here. Configuring text message workflows. So this is where I left off. Configuring text message workflows. Now it works just like configuring email workflows within HubSpot. You have all the same ability to personalize tokens, to branch steps, and you can have a wide variety of triggers that kick these workflows off. And in fact, if you look at the background image on this particular slide, if you did the bad dad jokes game earlier, this is the actual workflow that drives that game. And it's probably the most complex workflow we have, and it's just here as a demonstration, right? I don't know, it took half an hour to put together, 15 minutes, something like that. So you can do very powerful things with this. Truth be told, most of our workflows look like 2x4. It's just a series of text messages that kick into email messages, or there's one branch, right? There's a branch that is for email flows and one for text text flows, and we'll talk about the benefit of that in just a second. Really, the tools are powerful enough that you are limited only by your imagination. And I know that the folks at BizzyWeb can be very imaginative. So tap into us, tap into them to get some great ideas on how you can have a call to action for contests, can drive viral sharing of your messages as a way to deliver welcome messages, or maybe text message thank yous for signing up for an email or text message list. Lots of ways to drive engagement at the top of the funnel. Okay, so let's leave top of the funnel, talk about the next step in your customer's journey, mid-funnel. And the way I think about this, now that you have your ideal customer profile's attention, the next step in the process is increasing your company's credibility and continuing to add value to your audience. Text messaging, you're not going to be surprised, is a great way to do this. So imagine segmenting your audience into their areas of interest and then sending brief snippets of relevant information. Perhaps it's a product update or a regulatory change or an event reminder. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, gosh, the space on a mobile phone is pretty limited, so I don't really want to send a newsletter out to it, or even maybe a whole newsletter article. But one thing you can do, recognizing that text messaging is a short format game, include a hyperlink to any of the messages to take the message recipients to the web page that you want. One nice thing about this is that you're then able to retarget and track those taps into those links. So hyperlinks can be very powerful for you to track engagement and to retarget your audience. You know, so much of sales is about momentum. You want to capture that engagement up front and then keep conversational momentum up and ultimately drive urgency to take whatever action you're looking for, buy your product, sign up for your newsletter, whatever that is. One example of the impact of text messaging that I love to share is sending reminders via text messages for appointments. Studies have shown that receiving a text message reminder reduces no-show rates by 50%. So now imagine if your physical therapist, a dentist, someone in the mental health field, any company that counts on customers to show up in order to provide their service and ultimately bill for it, you can reduce your no-show rate by 50%. Let's say one patient a day generally doesn't show. That's, maybe 2.5 up to 5 patients a week that you can gain and serve and bill. So it can be incredibly powerful. It doesn't take a lot for ROI on text messaging.
I actually closed a deal on text as somebody was driving across the state of Minnesota, and he had his phone connected into his car, and so he was speaking to me through his car, and that's how we ended up closing the deal. I wouldn't have gotten it if I had tried to call him.
I love that. I recognize we're burning time, but I'll tell a 1-minute story. So I mentioned at the top of this that I cowboyed for a little while. I was in a cattle pen. It was a branding day, and I was sorting out calves that we could take to the fire and brand them and whatnot. This was just as I was transitioning to try to work for Vodafone, and I had chaps custom made that had a cell phone pocket in it, which you just don't do that if you're a true cowboy, a true Yellowstone ranch hand. But I wasn't. I got a call from London and ended up closing the deal with Vodafone on my horse in the branding pen. It was amazing and one of those great stories that I'd love to share. Phones are truly always with you.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, so top of funnel, middle of funnel, you have your customer engaged. You found your audience. Now it's time to close the deal. How can you use text messaging for that? Try drip campaigns to remind prospects of the benefits of your product or solution to keep them engaged, right? Drive urgency with special limited time offers. And then once the deal is closed, the customer relationship is really just beginning at that point. So you want your customer to have a fantastic first experience with your brand. And text messaging is a great way to do that. Consider sending order confirmations or receipts once a sale is closed. If you need to deliver a product, text messaging is a great way to send shipping details, including your tracking number. All of this stuff can be driven using HubSpot and a platform like MessageIQ. Customer satisfaction surveys, a great way to get insight into your customer's experience. Driving people to ratings websites is a great way to increase your profile generally across the industry. Tons of other ways to do this, but that's just some ideas to get the juices flowing. I think of sales as a virtuous cycle that only begins with getting an initial deal closed. Really, what I look for in our customer relationships is, yes, that first deal, but even more than that, serving the customer in a way that makes them want to tell their friends and buy more from us. And proper nurturing can lead to the development of a truly positive ongoing relationship with new customers, while that customer feels supported and you have the opportunity to present new solutions to them. Now, some cautions with this: don't be spammy. Present good value and great vibes in each message that you share. You can consider setting up customer segments on the customer or company properties inside HubSpot or your CRM of choice, and sending information on complementary products or services, things that are truly relevant and interesting to your audience. And if you need help with setting these things up in HubSpot, BizzyWebs can help you do all that stuff. They know exactly how to do it and can help you get the platform configured in no time at all. Some relevant topics that you might think about for existing customers include office closure notifications, happy birthday and holiday wishes, updates on your loyalty program, notifications of upcoming events. We've talked about appointment reminders and other sort of calendar-driven timely reminders. It's almost tax time. We're approaching the end of the year. Your subscription's about to expire. And one of my
School
favorite...
closing.
What was that?
School closings.
Yeah, but yes.
Yes, Kelly says we need to consult with USPS because she's having a horrible experience on a much needed shipment.
Oh my gosh. I heard from one of my vendors that they're in South Carolina. It's taking 2 to 3 weeks for them to get mail.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Imagine, and they are very paper driven, so that's how they get checks. It's crazy. One of my favorite nurturing ideas here, particularly for a company that sells consumable products or a sort of a timely service, is something like this. Hey, service is coming up on your vehicle, on your air conditioner, on your pool, on, insert service or product here. Schedule now. Have a link to a calendar where they can just sign up and schedule immediately in the moment. Remember, 98% open rate and response rates like 45% within 3 minutes. So great way to engage people. Another idea for consumable products in particular, you're probably running low on insert product here. Your supplement, your vitamins, your toner cartridge, your coffee. Reorder now, include a link to the product, tap through, get the deal done in the moment. Very, very powerful. Okay. So here's the thing. Hopefully it's abundantly clear at this point now that engagement rates can be through the roof with text messaging. It does assume good content. So fortunately, there's a very simple formula for engaging text content. And here it is. It begins, use the recipient's first name, identify yourself, and the reason you're reaching out. You can be clever, use your brand's voice, but don't be cryptic. Then quickly get to the call to action. Remember, this is short form content, so fluff just distracts. Here's a real world example that we use in our business all the time. For bonus points, consider using emojis or pictures in your text messaging. Be aware that depending on your service provider, they will likely charge you extra segments for using emojis or pictures. At MessageIQ, we charge, just for simplicity, we charge 2 segments if you include emojis or pictures in your messages. Other providers handle this differently. All right, let's talk about compliance for just a second. You now have a targeting and messaging plan. Before you can actually begin sending text messages, there is a bit of an industry gauntlet that you have to run through. It's 3 steps. The first is sending in a brand application. This is just to ensure that you are a legitimate business, and what the campaign registry is looking for in this is to associate your address and your business name with what the government has on file for you. Typically, the response for this is within 2 business days, and very frequently it's within a single business day, so it can happen quickly. Once your brand application is approved, we can submit a campaign application, and the purpose for the campaign application is to indicate to the carriers in particular how you're going to get consent for your messages to be received, what generally the content of those messages will be, and then they also want to ensure that you have a privacy and a terms of use policy on your website. Generally, if someone's going to get tripped up during this campaign application process, those are the things that get them. This is a deeper look at your campaign and your mobile messaging. It can take 2 to 3 weeks depending on the backlog and whether the campaign gets stuck for some reason. Again, this is a deeper topic that could be a webinar on its own, but feel free to reach out to me or to BizzyWeb to go deeper on this if you have questions or you want to pursue it. Or again, go to our blog site, messageiq.io/blog, search for compliance, and you'll get a couple of good blog posts there that can walk you through this.
Tim, when you set up MessageIQ, you help your clients with this as part of the setup process, right?
100%. Yeah.
Okay,
So the way
yeah.
that process works is customers come to our website, they select a plan, they then receive an email from us welcoming them to our program. And within that is a link to the brand application. Once the brand application has been submitted, a second email goes out that includes a link to the campaign application. When we receive either the brand application or the campaign application, we review those things to ensure that the customer's website is compliant. DCA, one of the regulators, will go through your website top to bottom to look for every form that asks for a phone number, and they will validate that you have an optional checkbox and that regulatory language. And if they don't, they're going to fail your campaign application. It then goes into a different process. It takes longer. It's a pain in the backside. You don't want to do that. So we do review all that stuff. We go through your website. One pro tip, make sure that any meeting link that you have from your website also has the opt-in requirements in there. You can do that through HubSpot, and again, BizzyWeb can help you set that up if you don't know how. So yes, we do everything we can to ensure that before we submit the campaign application in particular, that the customer is compliant. And it feels nitpicky. I get it. I also understand why the carriers do it, but we don't want you to be rejected. Okay. Once the campaign registry is approved and DCA has done their review, this whole process can take 2 or 3 weeks. Then the compliance obligations don't stop. Your messaging also needs to be compliant. If it's not and you get caught, then your campaign immediately gets suspended. Any additional campaigns that you want to run in the future get scrutinized more deeply. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that your text messaging is clear and direct. Automated text messages, things that are driven by sequences or workflows, need to include appropriate stop, help, and data rates may apply language in order to be compliant. In addition to that, you will get the carrier's attention if you send out an irregular text messaging campaign that is thousands and thousands of messages, and that's not your normal cadence. Or if you attempt to send lots of messages after hours in an automated way, right? So you send late night text messages or early morning text messages, those will get the carrier's attention. So try to avoid that when you can. Okay, let's talk about opt-ins. So just like an email list, you need to create a list of customers that want to receive and expect your text messages. Lots of ways to do this, and there's lots more ideas beyond this, but these will get you started. I've already addressed what opting in and consent means, so I'm not going to address that again here. A simple way to start building your opt-in list is to include a button, form, or question in your everyday transactional emails that asks your customers and your leads, how do you want to be communicated with? Do you want to be communicated with via email or SMS? And then simply follow their preference. We have a manufacturing customer that does a great job of this. They get the preference upfront in their sales process, and then from there on out, throughout that customer's whole life cycle, they are communicated in the appropriate channel, and almost everybody chooses text messaging. It's just how people live their lives now. Other ideas is include the question in or an opt-in potential in your email signatures on invoices, in newsletters, or any other email communication that you do. You can even have your sales or account managers ask the question of their customers or prospects as they're just going through their daily lives. Now, if you do it that way, make sure that gets captured in your CRM. And then if you want to be extra certain, have them send a text message out to the contact, where the contact can stop if they want to stop all future text messages. But the important part here is to make sure that's captured in your CRM. All right. So now you're armed and hopefully inspired to try text messaging for your business. Now all you have to do is make it happen. The first step is to find yourself a good provider and get signed up. Generally, you can do that without much of a commitment and not a significant cash outlay. There's really no reason not to try it. So when looking for a partner, make sure they are integrated deeply with HubSpot. Or if by happenstance that's not your CRM of preference, just make sure they're integrated. You want to take advantage of all the power of workflows, sequences, triggers, personalization tokens. You want easy access to send SMS from a contact company or deal record. And you want all of those communications captured in the activity history of the contact. So you have a 360-degree view of communications with that prospect or customer. Pricing by provider varies widely. So make sure that you're seeing transparent pricing. Remember the callback to segments versus messages. I don't want you to get hit with expensive overages and or fine print. And finally, you may not be SMS industry experts. Make sure that whoever you choose has strong regulatory support, just to help shepherd you through that. And then just one last thing on this, and you may not believe this, but some providers only offer outbound messaging. I don't understand the purpose of this. In my mind, that's nearly useless. If you text, recipients are going to want to call you back and text you back. Naturally, they will use the number that they received the text message from. So two-way messaging and a calling option to that same phone number is an absolute must.
I think it's a selling technique, right? Right, as you can get outbound for X price, but if you want inbound and outbound, that costs more. So that gets back to your earlier point: is make sure you understand what you're getting into.
1000%. Yeah, it's a great call out. All right, so now you're all set. You know how to select a messaging provider. You know what's needed for compliance. You can entice people to opt into text messages and build your list. You have messaging strategies that include specific scenarios for your industry. You have resources like BizzyWeb and ourselves that can help walk through some strategy specific to your business. From here, let's talk about some next steps. Download our free playbook. Hit the QR code on the slide now. There's more specific ideas, compliance tips, and specific messaging templates in that playbook. Map your customer journey and decide where and how you can grow your company and streamline your operations by slipping in text messaging as an option. And then go sign up for a text messaging service and begin playing around. MessageIQ, messageiq.io, starts at 29 bucks a month, and there's no ongoing obligation, right? So it's just not a high bar to get in and start playing with this stuff. And then finally, contact BizzyWeb or me for a strategy session to get started.
For sure.
I hope you found this interesting and useful. And if you follow these tips and tricks and suggestions, I know that you're going to streamline your business and grow it.
I love that picture.
Don't you
Tim,
wish you
I
were
had
this lady?
Yeah, totally.
In many, many ways.
I
Yeah,
had a question come through, Tim. It asks about 10 DLC registration. We have friends, and we actually use a tool called Kixie, and that's a registration notice that we got through our messaging platform. What is the 10 DLC thing? And it says that outbound SMS messages to long code numbers are blocked unless you go through registration. Well, what is all that?
Yeah, so that's part of the onboarding process, right? That's
Okay.
part of the compliance
Mhm.
process that you need to go through before you start sending text messages. So 10DLC is 10-digit long code. It's a phone number, right? It's
Got it.
what you think of as a traditional phone number.
Mhm.
And before you can use that to text out, you need to have approval from regulatory bodies and ultimately from your service aggregator as well. So for MessageIQ, that's part of the onboarding process. It includes a brand application and a campaign application. It takes about 2 or 3 weeks to get through that process.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
We're
Thanks.
looking perfect on time. Does anybody have any questions from our attendees? If you want, you can raise your hand using Zoom, or of course, chat in. Kelly says, thank you. Been meaning to implement a CRM now, so we'll go check out HubSpot. And oh goodness, you're in for a treat if you're looking at HubSpot. There's all kinds of good stuff there. And we have a massive amount of stuff in our blog to help support that. But if you have other questions for Tim, his contact info, of course, is here. And Tim, I noticed that the workflow that we sent, the bad dad jokes, actually came from your phone number. How does that work?
Yeah, so that's our office phone, and
Cool.
what most of our customers do is they set up a company-wide telephone line, and then each person that is going to send out text messages or expects to receive text messages has their own phone number. So the number that I've used there is my office line. I don't know, we have 8 or 10 phone numbers for our account managers and sales team in addition to mine. So the way it works is that's what we set up to be the identified number for outgoing messages. People can text back into that. They can actually call that phone number and it'll ring a gazillion phones around me. But I think people are expecting to have a single number experience when they engage with brands, and individuals at brands. So the service that we provide allows you to do that. And I'd probably just a quick note on that as well. We do have a small subset of customers that get one phone number for all of their text messaging throughout the company, just so everybody can see it at once. And they didn't want to confuse their pretty small audiences. So that's an option as well. Calling back to Kelly's comment about checking out CRMs. Kelly, I've been doing this, leading sales and marketing teams for a long time. I was a Salesforce person when Salesforce came out, and when I discovered HubSpot, it's such a different and, for me, better experience. It's so intuitive and powerful, and capabilities are growing, gosh, every day. I think last year they added over 200 different new capabilities to the HubSpot platform. I haven't used any CRM platform except for HubSpot from the day that I discovered it, and that's been 15 years ago now, maybe.
Amazing. Yeah.
And in fact, every time I go to a company, we migrate onto HubSpot. Now, when I came to this company, they were already on HubSpot, very ingrained in the HubSpot ecosystem. But I'm a huge believer in HubSpot, and I'm a huge believer in BizzyWeb. They can totally help you with that purchase and onboarding and configuring HubSpot just for you.
Thanks, Tim. Well, it's been a delight. And as we mentioned in the last slide, we do have upcoming Busy webinars coming up on June 5th. We actually have another AMA, another Ask Me Anything. So super excited to have everybody there for that one. That is discovering seasonality in your business. And so we'd love to see you on June 5th for the same thing at buzzyweb.com/events. Tim, thank you so much for everything. And we're, again, thankful for your partnership and for connecting. So everybody have a wonderful week. Oh, Kelly asked, any thoughts on FlowTrack?
I don't know FlowTrack. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't speak to that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we'll have to do a little research on that one. But perfect. Well, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful week. Tim, as always, amazing job.
Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thanks so much. So
See everybody.
thankful for the platform. Take care, guys.
Take care.